From Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Von Warnke. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And whether you're downloading or streaming this podcast, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to listen, because this podcast has been a dream of mine to get off the ground and have my own show. And I just want to thank you again for tuning in to our podcast. Today we're going to go back to 2013, almost 2 years ago from the time I'm recording this intro, and we're going to listen to a podcast that I did with Randy McMillan from the Mac and Prowler TV show on predator hunting. And the cool thing about this particular podcast is it really wasn't a podcast. It was done for the Hunting Channel Online, which is a web TV platform that has an audio platform in it called Interviews with the Masters. And that's what I originally designated this podcast for, was for that. And it really wasn't even much of a podcast. It was just an audio file of a conversation that I had with Mac. And we had a lot of fun doing this. I really thought it would be great to put on this new format of this show, because it's a great podcast for predator hunting. And if you're just learning how to do predator hunting, if you want to learn more about how to do predator hunting, even if you're an advanced predator hunter, you should learn something from this podcast. You should take something away from it. And I'm really excited about having the chance to share that with you. Here's my interview with Randy McMillan from the Mac and Prowler TV show. I hope you enjoy.
On the phone with me right now is none other than Randy McMillan, also known as Mac of Mac and Prowler. How are you doing today, Randy?
Good, marvelous.
Awesome. Well, give us a little bit of background about yourself and how the Mac and Prowler TV show started, and just some information so people can get to know a little bit more about you.
Okay, I grew up on a dairy farm, and growing up on a dairy farm, a coyote was he was a predator on our beds and stuff, so I learned real young how to take care of them, and I started hunting them, and I got more and more better ways, and I started out with a hand call, and then they came out with electronics, and I bought the very first ones that ever came out and had limited success, but anyway, and then it grew from there, and the more I hunted them, the better I got. And then I went to work for a game ranch, and it was also the same problem. Coyotes were a problem over there. And I was out riding the fence on the game ranch one day, and I shot a coyote. And I got to thinking about it. I had met Prowler previous, and we had got to be friends. And I just picked up the phone, and I called him, and I said, what am I pretty good at? And his first response was, well, hunting coyotes. And I said, well, why don't we take what I know about hunting coyotes and what you know about video production, and I said, let's put it all together and then make a DVD. And that's how we got started. And then we went from the DVD to the TV show.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so then I came along about 2011 and have worked with these guys ever since. And I certainly, do a lot of hunting on my own. I'm not that big of a predator hunter, but I do a lot of tech tip videos and sponsor segments and that kind of stuff, but the show is incredible, and predator hunting, as many people know, is one of the fastest growing sports and fastest growing industries within the hunting industry, and that's really why I think it's great that you and I are talking and doing this interview together. So you got started hunting when you were how old?
No, about 7.
Okay.
Put people in jail nowadays for letting somebody carry a gun at 7, but
so
when I was
different
7
time.
years old, I got my first .22, and I lived in the woods. That's all I did. I never played sports. I did, but I didn't like it, and I still don't like sports today. If I have any free time, well, I'm either hunting or fishing.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I never talked to you about that. I don't think I've ever talked to Bill about that either. But football game or basketball games on, I'm watching hunting shows or something. I'm always out in the woods or the water or something. But yeah, it's good to know you're kind of a kindred spirit there, because I feel alone sometimes because I don't play basketball and football like everybody else does. So I never cared nothing about it. So when I've got free time, I want to be in the woods. Yeah, that's great. So you're very, very passionate, and you always have been. That's the thing I've loved about working with you guys.
I had a man tell me one time that, do you know the definition of a true hunter?
And what's that?
Here's the definition of a true hunter: a man that hunts for a living and goes hunting on his day off. That's a true hunter.
That's great. I love that. How long did it take you to get where you are now, and what would you say to our listeners who are just getting started with predator hunting and kind of frustrated with some of their past experiences, maybe?
Persistence pays off.
Yes.
You've got to just keep trying. You know, predator hunting is a fast-growing sport, but most people kind of fall out with it because they go out and the first thing they do is they buy a $10 or $20 electronic call that's supposed to be the latest and the greatest and the best, and they go out 3 to 5 to 7 times with no success. Well, then they kind of say, well, this is too hard to do. And so, you know, there's things that you've got to do right in order to be successful as a predator hunter. And, you know, when I say things you got to do right, you know, yeah, you might kill one doing some of the things I'm going to tell you not to do, but you're not going to be consistent with it, like riding up on your four-wheeler and killing it and parking and start calling right there. That's, you know, that's not the way to be successful. Cheap calls with bad sounds is not the way to be successful. I mean, you know, you're dealing with a predator that makes his living knowing what he's doing.
Yes.
And he's easy to fool sometimes, but now if he's been bit a time or two by something like that, he gets smart fast.
And all you've done, as you've said before, all you've done is made a smarter coyote.
Right. And smart coyotes are tough.
And your main...
You know, and that's one of the things that's kind of, you know, the old-timers in this industry, yeah, we want people to go out and learn how to do this and everything, yes. But the people that are not doing it right are kind of, they cause frustration with us because they make the coyotes harder to call.
Yes, and part of what we do on our show with the coyote and the predator, you know, part of the hunting show, and Mag and Prowler are certainly a lot more than just coyote and predator hunting. We do bow fishing, we do bass fishing, we do, you know, hog and deer hunts and everything else. But, you know, just to let our listeners know, you know, part of what we do as part of our show is educate and entertain and try to teach the right way to do it. Isn't that right? Right,
absolutely. We want to take what we know and try to pass it on to the people that don't know so that they can have a enjoyable experience in the outdoors.
Absolutely, and there's so many different coyote hunting shows and everything out there, but, you know, the videos that you'll watch on the Hunting Channel online and then, you know, quite a few of our videos that we have on our own website, you know, we go through to educate and entertain. I mean, that's something that Mag and Prowlers have always been about is really teaching you, not just showing off how good of a shot or whatever we are, that we can kill a coyote at 300 yards, but, you know, the process of it, what ammo we use, what calls we use, you know, just the whole roundabout experience of coyote hunting. And so your main thing, when we were talking about predator hunting, there's obviously so many different types of, you know, from bears to mountain lions, that kind of stuff. Your main expertise is what?
Coyotes and bobcats.
Coyotes and bobcats. Very good.
Because that's what we have in our area mostly.
Right. We get the occasional, and I live in Central Texas, and Mac here lives in Texarkana or the Northeast Texas area, and is a full-time hunting ranch guide now. And so obviously you run into coyotes, you know, on a daily basis, I'm sure, in your hunting ranch, right?
Yeah.
So you definitely have plenty of experience. And this is a master coyote hunting, you know, guy I'm talking to here. He is incredible. I have seen him calling coyotes when it just, you know, it just doesn't appear, you know, that there'd ever be one in the area. I mean, this man knows what he's doing, so it's a pleasure.
When people watch our show, if they'll pay attention, a lot of times or something like that, we don't have to be the star of the show.
Right.
That's not what we're into this for, is to get up there and look good and you know, put on the show. You know, we're putting on a show, but we're putting on an educational show, not a show about ourselves.
Yes, Yes, it's not self-glorifying, and nothing that I do is, the same deal is when I hear, some of the viewers of my videos and our videos, between all of us, say, hey, that really helped me. I mean, that's the biggest pat on the back I could get. That's better than all the money in the world and fame and everything else, is that I'm helping somebody else out there. So that's one thing. And, we seek to do that in these interviews, too, as well. So, all right, since we're talking mostly non-professional hunters out there, and a lot of folks nationwide we're obviously addressing here, can hunt on public land, or in Texas it's something like 96-97% private land hunts. How do you deal with safety with landowners, with public lands, and that kind of stuff when you're scouting out a place to hunt?
Okay, if you're on private, where there's a lot of private land like we are,
right?
The first thing you've got to do is get permission from the landowner, and that's usually pretty easy to do if you approach a landowner the right way, and you tell him what you're doing and what you're about, and you prove to him that you're going to respect his property. It's usually pretty easy to get access. Now on public land, most of the time on public land, whenever the coyote hunting is real successful time of year, there's not a lot of hunting on public land. Mm-hmm. So, you can go out there and scout and drive the roads and stuff and listen and look for scat in the roads. First thing you've got to do is locate where the coyotes are hanging out at. And that's always good around cattle, chicken houses, something that coyotes.
Okay. And what would you say the best time of year would be for coyote hunting?
The best time of year, but you run into some problems during the deer hunting season and that stuff. But we generally start hunting in about September, and we hunt through March. There's some people in places that hunt year-round. But when it gets 100 degrees out here where we're at, I don't care much about being out there chasing a coyote. So I'll kind of leave them alone. I'll kind of leave them alone during the hot summer. But now the first cool spell we have in September, we'll be out there after them because you've got a lot of young dogs that are uneducated, and they're relatively easier to call. Okay.
That's good. And so, as I've mentioned before in my videos, having a good relationship with your local game warden, have a good relationship with the landowners and the landowners around your landowners, I think is good in case you've got to,
What a lot of people don't understand is when they think about predator hunting, the first thing that comes into their mind is night hunting.
Yes.
And we do very little night hunting. Most of our hunting is done during the day.
That's a very good point.
And we'll be out there early. We'll be out there at the break of daylight and go into a place real quietly, get set up, wait on it to get light enough that we can run the camera, and then we start calling, and we've had coyotes come in within seconds after we turned on the call.
Yeah, that's great. And let's talk real quick about some products that we like to use as far as mouth calls versus electronic calls. You and I talked about this when we kind of did the pre-planning of this interview. And then I also want to plug a couple of our sponsors while we're at it. So go ahead and talk about some of the tools of the trade.
Some of the tools of the trade. Well, the good thing about this is you don't have to spend $500 to go call in a coyote.
Yes.
You can go anywhere and buy $5 to $10 to $20 mouth call. Learn how to blow it to make it sound like something dying. And you can be successful calling in coyotes that way. But what you got to remember, the difference in calling in a coyote with a mouth call and using electronic. When you're using a mouth call, that coyote is going to pinpoint exactly where you're at. Or if you're using electronic, you can set the electronic out 25, 30, 50, 75 yards from you, and the coyote will focus on that and not on you. So, but when you go to electronic, quality is just like the old saying goes, you get what you pay for.
Right.
And the better sound quality you've got, then the better off you are. And right now we're using a call called Game Track, and the sound quality on it by far top of the line.
And that's spelled, what is it, Gametrak, right?
Yeah.
If people want to look that up. And that's developed by a guy that consults with us and is phenomenal at developing electronic products like this. But Gametrak, so you can look them up on the Google search or Gametracks.com. Just leave the C out of tracks. So, yeah, that's good. So as far as mouth calls, tell us real quick about some good ones on the market, but also, the M&P series, which are the calls that you make out of several different,
Yeah, I make predator calls out of deer antlers, exotic woods, rifle, just about it. Can be get a hole in it where I can make a call out of it.
Yeah, rifle brass. I mean, I'm blowing away at some of this stuff, and these are great sounding calls. If anybody's interested in getting one of these, they are available through macandprowler.com, through our website, or another alternate address for our website is predatorhuntingtvshow.com, but you can get some M&P series calls made by Randy McMillan himself.
Right, or, if they're in the northeast Texas area up around DeKalb, well, I've got them at my archery shop, Backwoods Archery.
Yes, we got to plug that one too. And for night hunting, so, I mean, basically, one of the things we talked about before, for night hunting, there are a lot of different hunting lights out there. Several different big names have had one out there. And one thing that we really like, there's two different products out there. There's a good long-range 250, 300-yard light called the VRL1 by varmintlights.com. It's carried in Cabela's right now. Randy also usually stocks these at a shop locally there, and you can see them on our website as well. And then the VRLX, which is new, and I just talked about this in the bow fishing interview I did earlier today with Marty McIntyre. That's set up for a bow. That can be set up for a rifle. It can be set up as a general navigation light. It's a little bit smaller than the VRL1, but it is an incredible tool for
awesome light.
Yes, both of them are very high internal components. I put the VRL1 especially through all kinds of torture tests and dropped it, and I've got a almost 4-year-old boy, and he's always dropping my flashlights and always wanted to play with them. So, it's always a challenge to try to keep equipment and stuff like that around here in good shape. And these lights have been through it all and are phenomenal and get really phenomenal range. Best colors for night hunting lights, by the way.
Well, seems like, I've been doing this a long time, and back when we used to use the old Q-beam and stuff, if you had a coyote coming in and you hit him with a light, well, he turned his head and he was gone.
Yeah.
But the new LED lights, even in white, doesn't seem to spook the game as bad as what the old regular bulbs did. But we use on the varmint light, we use a green, and we've had real good luck with the green. And red's fine, and like I said, we just kind of prefer the green for some reason. It's easy to video in. For number one is the green, and everything kind of stands out real good. And we've got video of cats and coyotes both that just came right into it. And it's a real bright light, but it didn't seem to bother.
That's a good point. And the VRL1 is made with the Cree LED. Actually, I think the VRLX is too, but CREE LED technology, and they are. I've been a pro staff for varmintlights.com for a while, and I've absolutely Mac and Prowler are both staff and dealers for varmintlights.com, and I'm telling you that technology can take with the reflector that the light uses and everything else can broadcast that green beam out to 250 yards, the red beam out to about 150 yards. The green spectrum seems to just be a better light spectrum overall, though, and it does not spook game, whether you're hunting hogs or true predators and that kind of stuff. So I at least wanted to do that, because everybody thinks that, red is the way to go because red's been on the market, and there's so many lights out there that have red filters and lenses. What you really need is a good, regardless of what light you do buy, an actual colored LED. Do you agree with that?
Right.
We're
not
get better
talking
performance.
About filters here. We're talking about actual light.
Yeah, the actual colored LED, because the filter just cuts your white light down. When you're filtering a white light, And I used those kind, for years before I ever met, the varmintlights.com guys. But, you can get just so much better, a better flashlight out of a colored LED light and mix and match. And, all the lights are interchangeable now with green, red, or white, and use the same flashlight for anything. Anyway, I just wanted to definitely mention varmintlights.com for that. And so when a coyote, day or night, comes into a call, what's the first thing they're going to do?
First thing they're going to do is try to get downwind to you. They're going to try to circle. The wind is your worst enemy when you're hunting coyotes. You've got to try to set up in a position that if there's any way possible to block him from doing that, that means you can put a pond behind you, you can put a creek, anything that can go behind you to keep him from circling to where he's got to come out front first. Well, then that's what you want to try to do because, like I said earlier, the wind is your worst enemy.
And you can use some of the best scent killers out there on the market, but still it is hard to fool a coyote's nose. Is that right?
Right. You can fool his eyes, you can fool his ears, but you ain't going to fool his nose.
Yeah.
And once a coyote smells you, there's no turning back. He's gone.
So they're trying to circle downwind to see if this is a legitimate, prey, or if it's...
That's the tricky part about electronics. We've actually had them circle the electronic call and be between us and the call.
Nice. And how far away do you put the electronic call? Because a mouth call, obviously, you got to use right there where you're hunting, but an electronic call, how far do you put that out?
It all depends on the terrain we're hunting in and, how tight quarters we want and all that. But minimum of 30 yards, maximum of 80.
Okay.
Is what we do now. Some people will put them out further than that. But what will happen to you if you put them out too far, if the coyote hangs up 150 yards from the call for whatever reason, then that makes him 200 yards from you. And,
right.
There's a lot of people out there that can take that shot, and we've taken that shot some, but I want that coyote down to 50 to 75 yards is what I want.
To make the most ethical kill possible, right?
Right. Well, and you've got more time. If something does happen, then if he's at 50 yards, then you've got more time. And if there's multiple coyotes, you get them in that close, well, then you can get multiple kills in the same set.
Right. No, that's good. And how long do you keep calling, in a setup? So you go, give me your ideal setup. You set up your electronic or your mouth call, and if you set up a decoy, if you do use like a mojo decoy, give me the kind of basics for that.
We've got several different decoys that we use. We've got some mojo decoys we use. The Critter's real good. We've got one called the Puppy Dog. The Puppy Dog didn't go over too good because of the way it looked, but it's one of the most deadly decoys that we've ever used.
Really?
But anyway, and we've done this. We've experimented with this. We've set the call out, set the decoy out, and put them in different places. But when the coyote comes in, he's focused on the sound. Yes, he will look at the decoy, but you want to put your decoy and your sound in the same proximity. And we try to put the decoy right there with our call, what we do.
Okay. Within proximity to the call. That's good.
Yeah.
And then...
But we want a decoy. We use a decoy, that's one of our main things because we want that coyote to focus on something besides us. We don't want him focusing on us.
Because you're really hunting the hunter, and that's he hunts for a living, so do you.
Right.
But that's good. And so you want to be within 100 yards, 75 to 50 yards, getting a good shot. And then as far as the terrain goes, a lot of people, even one of my interview questions was, do you spot and stalk a coyote, or is that kind of a futile effort? And last time we talked,
spot and stalk on a coyote is, I've done a lot of that. I've done what's called incidental kills, but there's a big difference in that and calling.
Okay.
Calling is the way I prefer. we've done a lot of hunting around dairy farms and that kind of stuff, and they got cows having calves and stuff, and we slipped up on them and killed coyotes just for the reason that the farmer, he wanted them gone.
Sure.
And there's another verse to that story is a fed coyote is hard to call.
Yep, I understand that.
He ain't looking for nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's something you'll run into too in places where where the coyotes are eating good.
That is priceless advice. So you want to go to where they've got to hunt for a living still, where they you can get a better shot. And I mean, predator control is so crucial, and in a lot of farms and ranches like you work with and like you grew up in, and finding a place to hunt predators is not that hard. You just have to ask, and certainly make sure if you've got houses in the background, you hunt away from those. If you've got livestock, that's certainly a good consideration for safety. And I've seen you guys shoot around cows and stuff like that. Make sure that you are well clear of those before you take a shot. I mean,
and that's another thing too. And we kind of regret some of the stuff because the camera angle made it look like
you're shooting right next to them.
Yeah, that the cattle was close, but in reality, we never take a shot that is questionable. We have had numerous coyotes come in on us through cattle and stuff, and we will not take the shot. If it's not 100% clear, then it's not going to happen with us.
And that's just general, for most.
That's the way you keep permission on a man's place.
Right, exactly. And that's one thing I'm always big about is, take care of your landowner and, obey their instructions, pick up your trash, but, don't shoot towards their barn or their livestock or any of that stuff. It's just general.
We've had guys that's got, property that they let us hunt on, and we'll see them in town or something, and they'll say, man, when are you going to come out there and go hunting? And they say, well, we were out there yesterday. Because, we were out there and we hunted, and he never knew it.
They don't even know, and that's the thing.
We were in and out, and he didn't even know we were there.
That's exactly the way I am when I deer hunt on other people's property, whether it be an urban hunting setup and that kind of stuff. Most people don't even know that I'm there, and it's just because I sneak in, I get out, I leave the place better than when I found it. I take care of the landowner, and that's very, very important, because if you don't have your own piece of land, if you're hunting on public land, you want to make sure you keep other people's safety and concern, but also livestock, property, so on and so forth, and in concern of that, and I can't stress that enough. That's good. So we talked about game calls where you wanted to buy a quality electronic game call, and Game Tracks is the one that we recommended. We talked about M&P series custom game calls that you make. What are some other good mouth calls?
A real good cheap mouth call is the Haydale Government Hunter. For somebody just starting out, that's about as good as you can get, and I think a few years ago they were like $10.
And tell me more about that. What manufacturer makes those? Do you remember?
Haydale.
Okay, Haydale. Okay, Government Hunter. Okay,
Haydale
cool.
Game calls. They're in they're in Walmart. They're in Gander Mountain Academy. Just about any place. And like I said, they're a little old clear plastic acrylic call. And they've actually got two calls in them. They've got a rabbit type sound, and then they've also got a squeaker. You just stick your finger over the end, and it's got a little coaxing squeaker on it. And I've used one of them many times before I started making a call. Well, I carried one in my bag because I kill a lot of coyotes and call in a lot of coyotes and cats when I'm actually deer hunting.
Very
good. If I get bored sitting in a deer stand, I'll pull my predator call out and blow it a couple of times, and I've actually had deer out looking at them and blowed on the predator call and called in a cat, killed the cat, and the deer never even acknowledged that I was there.
And I know you even told me sometimes that you'd rather, if there's an 8-point buck that walks out, a trophy deer or a coyote, you'd rather shoot the coyote.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I shoot the coyote first and then try to kill the deer.
That's a true predator hunter right there. That's what I love about you guys. And, that also being said, so give me the name of that call again.
Haydale Government Hunter.
Government Hunter, Haydale. Okay, very good. So you can find that in a lot of retail stores.
Primos makes some real good, mouth calls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's lots of good mouth calls out there on the market.
You get what you pay for.
Learn how to blow them. I mean, you can't sound like Dixie and call in a coyote,
I'm with
I tell
you.
everybody that buys one of my calls, well, how do I blow on this? I said, sound like something dying.
That's pretty much because otherwise you're not going to fool the coyote. I mean, that's just
right.
The way that it goes. And you get what you pay for with mouth calls, too, as well as electronic calls. I know you guys have had quite a few, products that we've all tested and evaluated and that kind of stuff that you guys have just thrown in the trash because they're no good. So you get what you pay for and all of it. Buy a good name brand. Another one that I was going to suggest that's new to us is a guy by the name of Lynn Buswell came out with Blitzkrieg game calls. They've been on the market for quite a while, and you and I haven't talked much about that, but Prowler and I have, and he sent me a couple of his. Have you tried any of his out yet?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, next time you see Prowler, definitely try those out. But I wanted to plug Blitzkrieg game calls as well. You can find him through our website as well. He's a recent product sponsor.
One real good thing about predator hunting, if you come up with some kind of a call, you've got everything else if you're a hunter.
Yeah.
You've got a rifle, you've got a shotgun. You don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff to become a predator hunter.
That's a good point, and that kind of leads me into my next.
Decoy, and your decoy can be as simple as a buzzard feather hanging on a string.
Blowing in the wind.
Right.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah, just something that...
Or a feather, or a bird wing, or something like that,
Something that looks like it's in distress as a decoy. It doesn't have to be very expensive. It can be something you even make yourself. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that gets into the next segment. I wanted to talk about what firearm you use. Let's talk, because last time we kind of did this kind of pre-interview, we didn't talk any about shotguns. Give me your rundown on that, what you use. A lot of people ask me that.
Shotguns, I've been using for years. I use the Remington 1187 special purpose 3.5-inch Magnum. It's got a super full turkey choke on it. I've actually killed coyotes at 65 yards.
Yeah.
I've got that on video.
That's great.
We shoot a 3.5-inch number 4 buck, which has 54 20 caliber pellets, and it is awesome.
Very good, and that's Winchester's kind of our main ammo sponsor at the time I did this.
Winchester, they've got all this stuff out there. They've got the dead coyote, and they've got this, and they've got that. But the Winchester 3.5 or 3-inch or 2 3/4, even they make it in all 3 chambers. That is the most deadly coyote round that I have ever used in a shotgun.
That's Winchester number 4 buck.
Yes. And 2 3/4, 3-inch, or 3.5.
3.5, and I've got some 2 3/4.
Like 48 pellets in 3-inch and 54 in 3.5, and like 40 or something in 2 3/4.
That's a lot of juice. That's really good. And one of the new shotguns we just got to do that with, and we've done some filming, and I've done a segment on this sponsor, is Mossberg. We all have Mossberg 935 shotguns, which is the semi-automatic version of the 835, which is kind of the Magnum version of the 500. So semi-automatic 3.5-inch. I have even used it recently. As of last month, I went out clay shooting with some friends, and I even used it for target loads, which is cycled fine. I just needed to clean it after about 200 rounds or whatnot. I cycled through it, but it's built for hunting. It's not necessarily built for skeet shooting and that kind of stuff. It is built for Magnum loads, and it is a very light shotgun. I don't know what you think about yours, but I'm thoroughly impressed with mine.
Yes, I mean, the 935 is a real nice shotgun. I just hadn't had mine long enough during the hunting season to really get, to really try it out. And then, I've had such success over the years with the gun I've got, and that's something you kind of get a real good feel of your favorite hunting gun, and I'm just real comfortable with my Remington, and that's kind of hard to change. The 935 is a real nice shotgun. It functions well and all that, but it's just kind of like It's just kind of like driving your old Jeep or something, you know. It's
I'm with
what you get used to and what you like.
Yep. Get used to that clutch and the gear shift.
If it ain't broke.
I'm with you. You know, Mossberg's one of our firearm sponsors, and like I said, I'll talk later too about the some of the other Mossberg guns that I was going to recommend. But the 935, I also have the 835 pump and then the 935 semi-auto. What Mac is talking about with the 1187, for those that aren't that familiar with firearms, is that's the kind of predecessor to the 1100, which is a semi-automatic version of a 12 gauge gauge Remington. I'm sorry. So 1187 is a very classic gun, and a semi-automatic 12 gauge.
Well, and then, you know, the particular one I've got, it's got a Remington super full turkey choke in it, and it just happens that it shoots the number 4 buck extremely well. Like I said, I killed a Coyote at 64 steps. I killed Bobcat at 50-something steps, and just, you know, it's just an awesome combination.
That's what you'd recommend is the super full, like turkey style choke for.
But if you watch some of the hunts, and I don't know what it is, but we've seen it several times. My particular setup will have one pellet that it'll throw 10 feet away from the rest of them for some reason. We've seen it on videos in dusty conditions, and one pellet will just run off out there wild. You know.
That's interesting. But
other than that, it patterns them real well. It'll just
a lot of people have asked me, hey, what choke do I use? And I haven't really known the answer to that because I assume a full choke, but you're suggesting like a turkey choke for buckshot.
Yes, that's what I think.
Okay. Super full, so that's good. Let's move into rifles.
But now, just because my gun shoots it well, don't mean that somebody else's is going to shoot it well. That's something that you've got to spend a little time and pattern your gun and figure out. You know, you may have to go to a modified choke or something. I mean, you know, that's something I've seen in the Mossberg. You know, they've got the overboard barrel. Well, I'm thinking on that overboard barrel that I'm going to have to go to a modified choke or something. Because when I did shoot it with the super full, it had too many flyers. And I'm thinking what it's doing is letting it spread out and then sucking it back down, and then that's causing a little bit of an issue. And I think with an opener choke, you're still going to get good results. But I don't think with the overbore, I think it's going to be you're going to have to use a little opener choke.
I'm glad you mentioned that before we move into rifles because the Mossberg, indeed, I think on all of their the Magnum guns, at least the 835 and the 935 that run 3.5-inch Magnum, you know, down to 2 3/4, they are all overboard to 10 gauge, and then they shrink back down when they hit the choke tube. So that being said, in fact, the AccuMag chokes that Mossberg use are overboard as well, from what I understand. So they have, they're built for the overbore. And so that's a very good. So you're probably move with a little wider choke or more open choke then for the Mossberg. That is very good information. I'm glad you shared that.
It's just like ammo in a rifle. You know, just because one ammo is real good, it may not shoot in a particular rifle, and vice versa. You know, it's something that you got to play with and figure out. You know, what is the best.
Yes, absolutely. That is good. And let's talk real quick, move into rifles real quick. I know one thing we've always said, and I think even said earlier in this interview, is use what you have. If you're set up for deer hunting, you don't need a whole lot more than a game call and maybe a decoy for a decoy setup for a coyote hunt. You are more of a fan of the larger calibers, though, unlike most predator hunters that like 223. Explain why.
Right. Well, you know, when you're in the business, you want a quick, clean kill. In other words, you want that animal to drop when you're filming him, and he needs to drop right there. We can't use footage of one kicking around and running and dying, you know, 30 minutes later. So I like the bigger guns. You know, even though I hunt coyotes, and I kind of despise them and everything. I still got a deep respect for them, and when I shoot one, I want him to die quick.
Very good. Very good.
I like the bigger calibers. Probably my favorite all around is the AR style 308. You know, that's my favorite.
Like the AR-10.
Right now we're shooting Olympic arms in a 25 WSSM, and I'm really liking it. It's big enough. You know, the 25 WSSM is equal ballistics to a 25-06.
Right.
And,
so
I'm really liking it, but I hadn't been shooting it long enough to really fall in love with it.
Yes, but it's been around, and see, Olympic Arms is, I think, the first, maybe only AR manufacturer that has chambered a very good all-around, 25-06 light cartridge inside of a AR platform, and they take the special magazine and the special mag. Well, it's a special gun dedicated for that. But another innovation, they run 300 blackout or 223. They've got carbine style pistol, AR pistols, and 9mm, and so on and so forth. But the 25 WSSM, as Mac just said, is very ballistically equivalent to a full-size 25-06. Which is going to neck down 30-06. But what they've also done is come out with the I believe it's called the 300 OSSM. And I wrote an article about a year ago this month on the innovations of the Olympic Arms firearms. But that shoots something that's equivalent to something between a 30-06 and a 300 Win Mag out of a AR platform.
Out of an AR-15 platform.
Yes, AR-15. Yeah, that's right. So, you're talking about shooting something like a 25-06 out of an AR-15 platform. This is even stepping it up some more.
They call it a UMAR, and you can buy the UMAR lower, and you can put any upper on it.
Yes.
But you've got to have the lower in order to use the 25 WSSM and the 300 OSSM, and they make it in 22-250.
Yes, that's the other thing I was going to say.
You've got to have the UMAR lower.
Right.
But then once you get that lower, then you can put any upper on it. You can put a standard 223, any brand, any configuration. I mean, it don't matter.
It's like playing adult Legos.
Even down to the pistol cartridges, 40 calibers and 10mm and 45s.
Yep, it's like playing adult Legos. I love it, and it's really an innovative company. So if you've not checked out Olympic Arms, they're one of our sponsors as well. You can see them on the Mac and Prowler webpage, and they have really done some innovative things. But that's why I wrote an article for them, is I was really blown away at the innovations of the 25 WSSM and the 300 OSSM, which are, super short Winchester-style cartridges. The OSSM is their own invention, and I think it's just awesome. So so you like, bigger calibers. When you're moving into rifles, as I said I'd mention here later in the interview, something that has really caught my eye with, and I showed you this one at SHOT Show this year, I think, Mac, the Mossberg MVP, and that's a 223 that accepts AR-15 magazines, but is it's a bolt action. So even if the assault weapons ban and all this other stuff, the politics going on when I recorded this interview happened, and AR-15s are obsolete or banned or for whatever reason, you can still use that in a hunting situation. Use AR mags inside of a bolt action rifle. And as far as fast throw bolt, prairie dog hunting all the way to coyotes, I think it's a pretty neat modular platform for a bolt action rifle. And the other thing is, I believe the last thing I read is that the MVP is going to be chambered in 308 next as well. So stay tuned for that. But Mossberg's one of our other firearm sponsors, along with Olympic Arms. And wanted to definitely promote both of those and the kind of guns that we use. I personally am a 30 caliber guy, when it comes to any kind of hunting I do. I hunt with a Mosin Nagant 7.62x54 rim I got a 270, which is a little different from 30 caliber, but not by much.
I started this whole thing back 6-7 years ago. My rifle of choice was a Ruger 7mm Magnum.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have many run off.
That's I was going to say. That's plenty of gun. The only other gun that I use is the 308.
There's too much gun.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of
you're hunting. There's no such thing as too much gun.
You're going to have your guys that are listening to this though that are sitting there thinking, well, what about, what if you're trying to sell the pelts and stuff like that? But
that's a totally different.
Yeah.
That's a totally different ball game when you're talking about pelt hunting.
Stuff, yeah.
No, you don't want, to tear a big hole in the pelt if you're trying to sell the pelt. But here in northeast Texas, where we're at, the pelts are really not worth anything. It don't get cold enough, and they're just not worth nothing here. So our main focus on hunting is the depredation on cattle, chicken houses, and that kind of thing.
And that's the thing, is it's not about keeping the coyote for any value after that. It's just simply a predatory control. And the thing is, I just thought when I met both of you, 3 years ago, whatever it's been, that y'all would definitely all be into 223s because all the predator hunting revolves around a lot is 223. But I mean, I like to use bigger calibers, and there's nothing wrong with that. So anybody that's listening to this that says, well, 223 is the Predator varmint cartridge. Well, there's plenty of guns like the 25 WSSM that'll still reach out and touch them. They're still extremely flat shooting guns that have a little bit more power that you might want to consider for putting that coyote down quick.
And if you'll look at the ballistics on the 223, and I got 223, I got one I carry every day, and I shot coyotes with it, I shot hogs with it. I carry it because I can carry a lot of ammo, and it's a small rifle, and I carry it every day over at the ranch. But when you look at the ballistics on the 223 and really study them, you're looking at a 250 to 300 yard gun, and then after that, the energy starts dropping off so bad until you can run into problems. You can actually shoot a coyote, and he'll run off and he'll die, but you'll never find him.
Okay.
But that's true with any caliber if you don't make a good shot. So shot placement is your number one thing.
That's crucial too. And I mean, sometimes you're dealing with running shots with predator hunting. Sometimes you're not hunting in most ideal situations, but that's part of the challenge of predator hunting and why I think it is one of the most, the fastest growing.
That's why we want them in at 50 yards and why we want to have that shotgun handy.
That's not a bad idea either. And another thing I wanted to plug that I didn't talk about with you before is having a good bipod or monopod. That's something I use when I'm crossbow hunting or rifle hunting if I'm in an offhand position where I'm not on a rest or anything. And most of the time if you're out in the middle of the field with your back against the tree, you're not going to be in that situation.
Yeah, we set in some like little turkey hunting stools most of the time. And if I forget my bipod or something like that, I cut me a stick because I can't sit there and hold that gun steady enough to make a real good clean shot just free-handed. I'm not that good. I never have been. I've always relied on some type of aid.
And they're not that hard. They're not expensive to buy. A good monopod. I mean, you can even get a short one like I've got. I even put my camera on it some of the time. I've got it mounted up right now for where I'm going this week. And I
use the polecat.
Okay, you use a polecat. I use Stony Point, which is by the folks I think that make Bushnell. I think it's a parent company.
That's what Stony Point is makes the polecat.
Yeah, they make the polecat. Okay, cool. So I just got a generic Stony Point.
It's an adjustable bipod.
And do you have one that's like for standing, or is yours for sitting too, for like kneeling or?
It's for shooting. It's just a two-legged.
Okay. So you've got a body.
I will sit on stand in my chair, and I will actually have my gun on that pod and rest on my shoulder and sit there and work the call with everything to where all I got to do is put my hand on the trigger and look through the scope.
That is good. So it's very comfortable. I've been turkey hunting like that before. I've been, crossbow hunting for deer like that before, where it's very little, that monopod or bipod or whatever you use, and they even make the fully adjustable ones that you can go from standing to kneeling. with a little trigger pod. I think Primos makes that one. And, you know, but you can sit there in shooting position like what Mac's talking about, ready to go, you know, and not having to worry about it.
The next thing that you're going to find on the Coyote besides his nose is movement. He's
Yes.
going to pick up on movement. You'll think that he's out there and focused on something else, and you go to moving around, and he's fixing to lock in on you quick.
He's pinning you down because they've got great long distance vision.
Right.
And
they're real keen to movement, and so that's why I sit there, you know, with my gun on the ready position, up on my shoulder, where I can just minimum move and be on sight.
Very good. And another question I guess I've got for you is, that all being said, so we talked about the Coyote's nose, we talked about, you know, movement. What kind of camo?
What kind of camo? Right now, we've been using this for about, 4 or 5 years now. We use the M2D. It's made to DC. And it does just that. Here where we hunt at in northeast Texas, wintertime hunting, everything is predominantly brown. And M2D camo is a brown, yellow, kind of a, looks similar to shadowgrass, but it's a whole lot smaller lines. And we've had extremely good success with it. It's a real good camo in our area, in which M2D camo is based out of Washington State. He does hunts in Idaho and all over the country, and it's just a good all-around camo because, you know, for being a guide over at the ranch, I see this on a daily basis. People will come out there with all of the dark-colored camo, and when they're out there at 100 to 150 yards, guess what? They are a dark blob.
Yeah.
And the M2D, we have actually hung it up in a bush or something and got away from it, and it blends in. It blends in better than any camo that I have ever seen.
It's just such a big appeal now. It's such a big part of the hunting industry market now is camo, and coming out with the newest, all the different camo brands that are out there. I'm really satisfied with M2D. And again, just for our listeners, that's the letter M, the number 2, and the letter D camo. And you can see him at m2dcamo.com. Sparky Sparks is the guy that came up with that, and they can even do dip jobs where they can dip your guns or any kind of other products into.
They also make, they got some hunting vests and some fishing vests.
Yeah.
They got real nice vests and stuff that we use a lot of too.
Yeah, that's right. Y'all sent me one of those.
M2D right now, that's the camo of choice on us.
And it blends in so well to your environment. It's just scary because, they even have things on their website, pictures of them being in the snow or being on a field or being in just any kind of terrain and how crazy it blends in compared to the other camo companies out there. So, it's another one of our sponsors, but they, again, we really only hunt with the best. So, that's a big thing there.
For hunting, M2D, as nice as it is for hunting, it's not the rest of life, that's designed for. It's not
right.
It's not designed to look good on you, it's designed to function.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's not the most fashionable camo I have, but it certainly is deadly.
But it works.
Yeah, that's good to know.
That's the reason that Mac and Prowler uses it, because it works. If it don't work, we're not using it.
And it was the same deal. I mean, you guys have been around longer than I have in this industry, and I mean that's the one thing I love about working with these two guys, with Mac and Prowler both, is because we don't represent stuff that's junk. That's for sure. So anything that we recommend on this interview, you're gonna definitely be happy with what you purchase. So that's very, very important. Okay.
Not happy with it. We want to know it.
That's right. And
we want to know why.
That's important. So yeah, that's good. So what else would you like to say to folks that are just starting out, that are maybe have been frustrated before? I know you say persistence is key and patience is key, but what other advice would you like to give?
the main advice that I'm going to give everybody is you're not going to kill a coyote sitting in front of TV watching a ball game.
You got to get out there and hustle.
That ain't going to happen most of the time. Now, yeah, there's going to be some guys say, yeah, I was watching the ball game, one come running out in the yard, and I shot him. But that's, you're not going to call them in and consistently kill them if you're not out in the woods is what I'm trying to get at.
Right. You need to get out there and do it.
If you've got the time and you're passionate about coyote hunting, then you've got to spend time in the woods, just like any other hunting. Big game hunting, deer, elk, whatever. The guys that are successful in it, they're out there every day that they can, and that's what it takes to be successful. And no matter how good you think you are at any kind of hunting, that animal is going to prove you wrong time and time again. When you think you got it all figured out, guess what? He's going to throw you a curveball like you ain't never seen, because he has to survive in his environment with you out there trying to take his life. So he's on his toes at all times.
And that has just been so amazing to me, to just how a coyote, knows to circle downwind and try to catch to see if there's any, predator hunting him, and how that's just hardwired in them.
I've said it for years, and I have no proof because I'm not a scientist and everything, but I think every animal on this planet has a communication of some sort that we don't even know about. Because how many times have you been in a deer blind or whatever, and there'll be 5 or 6 or 7 does out there, and one deer gets something that they don't like, and immediately all of them go on alert.
Yeah, it's like a sixth sense or something.
That's right. It's a communication that we can't hear, we can't see, we know nothing about. But there's a communication there, some way, form, or fashion. When you got deer 50 yards apart and all of them go on alert at the exact same time, somebody did something that everybody else knew about but us.
Right.
Same way with coyotes.
So they're very much a packed animal. So I mean, not a herd animal. I guess pack animal would be the right way to say it.
Well, that's something too on coyotes. Now, I'll throw this in while we're talking about that. If you set up and you call in a coyote within 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes, don't jump up and run out there and go to taking pictures and everything. Sit there and keep calling. We've called in as high as 4 and 5 and 6 at a time by not moving. And, I mean, one gunshot, 2 gunshots, they don't know what that is.
Right.
They don't know exactly where it's coming from. And so, my advice is, you shoot a coyote, don't quit. Keep calling until, and just start all over. Just say, well, I'm going to sit here another 30 minutes. And we have actually called in multiple coyotes and never moved, and have dead coyotes laying out there in front of us.
And that's something else I forgot to mention on this is how long do you call before you move on to another spot?
Minimum of 30 minutes.
Minimum of 30 minutes. And then an electronic call is going to keep on blowing and keep on blowing. And, I mean, you're going to run that call for the whole time but while you're there. But how about a mouth call? Do you keep on blowing?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
I don't recommend leaving the guys out there that, I don't never stop. You asked me what we did, and we don't move. There's always things that can happen. You might get on the stand, you might be sitting there for 10 minutes, and the farmer drive up. Well, then, yeah, you need to move. But I'm talking about if everything is right, and you get into a place right, and the wind hadn't changed, stay 30 minutes minimum. And I mean stay 30 minutes and then decide to move and go to packing stuff up and look up, and there was the coyote.
There he is. Yeah, it's like calling it up.
We'll set that 2 minutes longer. So there's no set rule. You just got to kind of play it all by ear.
It's kind of like turkey hunting. You and I talked about that last time.
Right.
Because there have been times.
Hunting, it's got a lot of the same principles coyote hunting as turkey hunting or bobcat hunting, either one.
There have been times where I've been in the turkey blind and, been calling and just get up and get my stuff ready, and there's 2 toms right in front of me, and I don't know, it's the same deal with coyote hunting. You never quit. You just be persistent and patient with it.
We said as long as an hour and a half. We had a hunt one time to where we saw a coyote a mile away, and we couldn't get his attention. We didn't have anything loud enough that he could hear because we had a little bit of wind blowing and everything. And I picked up some kind of call I had. I don't even remember what it was, and I blew on that thing just as loud as I could.
Oh, man.
He throwed his head up and looked our way. Well, it took him 20 minutes to come on in. But when he got within about 250 yards of us, he committed and come in hard. But it took him that long to work his way, and he would stop and smell the ground and walk around, and but then whenever he got to that point, then he committed. But we actually experienced that. We just happened to see the coyote, and he was a mile away.
And you had to kind of coax him into your position.
Well, once he heard something, he started coming our way to investigate. But he wasn't in no hurry, because in his mindset he was like, well, it probably won't be there when I get there.
So he's taking his time.
He didn't have nothing else to do, so he came to investigate.
Oh, this is all great info. You have anything else you'd like to say to our listeners?
Just get out there and hunt. It's a real low volume hunt. You're not going to kill a lot, but to me, when I can put my wits against a apex predator like a coyote or a bobcat, they make their living doing this. And when I can outsmart him, then I have accomplished something big. And that's my opinion of the whole thing. I just love going against an animal that is a worthy opponent.
You become a dominant predator in a way, and that's what the big draw is to it. And there's not a whole lot of meat you get out of it or any of that stuff like you will with a deer or an elk or anything else. But it's just the charge that you beat somebody at their own game, in hunting. And it's unlike any other kind of hunting.
I outsmarted that coyote or that bobcat, and I got them within range of me that I could take them out. And to me, that is the ultimate. There's no other hunting out there that I can think of that I like any better than that.
That is phenomenal. How can people get in touch with you? Could you give me your email out?
Yeah. It's you can give out the email that's on our website and all that, or they can go to our website. All the information is pretty much there.
Okay, yeah. So your email is macandprowler@yahoo.com, right?
Yeah, that's my personal. macandprowler@yahoo.com goes straight to me.
Okay.
Mike at macandprowler.com goes to the office.
Okay, yeah, to the main office. But that way, if people have any questions, I'm sure you wouldn't mind them giving you an email. We get questions all the time.
I have people in this industry all the time tell me that I'm too much of an open book. Well, I don't have no secrets. I'm willing to share any information that I have, and it's all my opinion, and that's all it is my opinion.
Right.
It works for me, and that's all I can tell you.
Yeah, and that's just to promote our show again. That's one thing that you will see. We have a ton of sponsors on our partners page at macandprowler.com. You can get to us one or two ways: macandprowler.com, which is macandprowler.com, or Predator Hunting TV Show and you can visit us there. You can email me or Mac or Prowler with any questions that you have. Certainly Mac is kind of the king of the predator hunting world in our little hierarchy here, so he'd probably be the best one to ask any predator hunting direct questions. We've got articles up there. We've got tons of videos for coyote hunting and bobcat hunting, and even all kinds of other types of hunting and bow fishing and stuff like that there as well. And thank you again so much for joining with me, Mac. This has just been a great interview, I think.
And then I own this archery shop called Backwoods Archery, and I'm a PFP certified dealer. I can do any repairs on most any kind of bow or anything. I will ship. We have a big section of bow fishing accessories, reels, bows, arrows, stuff that's pretty hard to find lots of places.
Very good. And the link to get to that little section, I built a page for Mac's Archery Shop, Backwoods Archery, on the main page of McMillan.com. You can get to that, and you can even call him with any questions or if you need to order anything in or anything like that. If you live in the Northeast Texas area around DeKalb where Mac lives, that would be a certain stop if that were me, because he's a great guy to talk to, knows quite a lot about archery and firearms and all kinds of different things, and that would be my go-to gun shop if I lived in that area for sure. Or go-to archery place and everything. So I'm excited, man. So you can learn all about that on our website, again, McMillan.com, and you have several different videos, articles, all kinds of resources to help you become a better hunter there. And anything else you'd like to add, Mac?
Nope. Just
all right.
Enjoyed it. I hope somebody learned something from it, and I think if they'll go to our website and look at it, I think they will learn. If they'll watch some of our videos, we've got some real neat stuff on there, and then Dustin has some excellent articles on there about how to and what if and all that stuff. So just go to our website, browse around for a while, and enjoy doing this.
Man, that was a fun interview. I really enjoyed that. Mac and I talk on a pretty semi-frequent basis, and he is just a fun guy to have around, and just a wealth of information when it comes to hunting just about anything. He's also a pretty accomplished bow fisherman and big game hunter and great hunting guide. There's so many good things about working with Mac. If you want to check out some more of the hunts of Mac and Prowlers, check out the website macandprowler.com. It's MacandProwler.com, or the PredatorHuntingTVShow.com, and that'll bring you to some articles that myself and others on our Mac and Prowler team have written, as well as some video content, some podcasts, and all kinds of different content you can download or consume there on the website. Thank you so much again for listening to this show and tuning in and downloading or streaming this podcast. Please tell your friends about it if you like it. We'd love to have some more listeners to the show, and have a wonderful day in the outdoors.